the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our discussion today. And we'll continue to let people in as they jump on for the meeting. But again, welcome to Workshop Wednesday. Thanks for joining us as we go through these discussions of our tools and resources that we have available to y'all. Today, what we're going to be discussing, it's going to be a FleetCommander deep dive. So we're going to discuss make reservations, user search, and the vehicle availability user view within the new version 5.13. So we're going to jump into that. Some housekeeping tools as we go through the presentation today. First off, this is just our monthly FleetCommander Knowledge series. We host these every third Wednesday from 2 to 3 Eastern Standard Time. We love to hear your feedback. So when we get to the end of the show, there will be a screen for you to scan and give us your feedback on that QR code. If you've given feedback recently, it probably hasn't been reset. So just keep that in mind, but we do want your feedback. If you jump in there and it doesn't work for some reason, please go ahead and email it to us directly or drop your feedback in the chat too. Before we begin, we are going to be recording this webinar. And so the recordings will be shared once we are done. So your mic will be muted during the webinar. If you've got feedback, we'll get to that in just a second on the process there. But it's recorded, your mic will be muted, and a recording of this will be available on our YouTube channel, and a copy of these slides will be provided to you within 1 to 2 business days of completing the presentation. We love getting feedback from y'all. While you will be muted, we do have a chat option within the presentation. So in your top left-hand corner, you'll see the chat window that's blue on this screen. And then the chat bubble will pop up. When you fill that out, please make sure that you give us your name and your agency before you type your question or your comment. That way we can help facilitate any follow-up or additional content that needs to happen. Sometimes that doesn't pop up with the information that comes through. Now, the folks that are going to be presenting for you today, you've got me. My name's Kristen Sonderman. I'm your Senior Client Success Manager here at Agile Fleet. I'm going to be emceeing the show. And then John Rudeschild, our Implementation Manager, is going to be providing y'all with the wonderful content that you will be receiving today. Sorry, we are live and there's work going on, so you might have heard my my phone line ringing over there. So with that being said, put on your snorkel and let's go. I'm gonna turn this over to John.
Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate the introduction and welcome everybody to another Workshop Wednesday. I get the honor of doing another one this year, and that's very exciting because I started at Agile Fleet 4.5 years ago when we introduced the Workshop Wednesday. I was a part of that, got to do several of those, but now since I moved over to implementation, haven't been able to do them until just recently again, and I'm really excited. Now, as Kristen said, go ahead and put on your snorkel because today we're going to actually do a deep dive into some new things with FleetCommander, specifically with the upcoming release of 5.13. There's been a lot of changes in regards to FleetCommander, what it does, how it's set up through the years. Actually, right now, Agile is celebrating its 25th anniversary. And like I said, over the years, there's been a lot of different changes within the program, things that have been customized, things that have been added at the request of our clients like yourselves. And so that's kind of what we're going to be covering today is the idea of some of the changes that you're going to be seeing in 5.13, one of which is actually the result of client input from those that actively use the system. And one of the interesting things about FleetCommander itself is that when it was first introduced and first designed, it actually was something that was used for a group of buddies that had an airplane, and they were sharing this one airplane. And instead of calling each other, do you want to use the plane today? How about you? How about you? How about you? They came up with a very simple structure that FleetCommander is based off of to manage that one plane. And then as the founders of Agile kind of wanted to expand upon that idea and really see what the practical use of it. They considered a lot of different options with that, including, interesting enough, boat rentals. So I kind of think within acknowledgement of the 25th anniversary of Fleet Commander and that history of planes and boats, we're kind of really sinking straight into that, and no pun intended on that, sinking straight in on the dive into the nautical idea today in this presentation. We are going to be looking at the user experience as it is now presented within 513. That's a little bit different than the interface itself. Interface, when you talk about user interface, you're talking about the way it looks. Experience is really what you do. And so there's some things that have changed in how some processes that were familiar in the past to your end users, your requesters, your drivers, and how they do things. It's slightly tweaked as an improvement. And I hope you'll see that as we go through the demonstration today. Kind of want to frame the story in regards to the tale of three fleet commanders and how when they go out on their voyage and to use Fleet Commander in the coming days and weeks as your site is updated to 513, what they're going to see in regards to making reservations, that interface, the user search box, and a new feature, vehicle availability. And then also, as time allows, we're really going to kind of tell you a little bit more about Command, the history of Command, to kind of, because it's coming up, Command 2025 is coming up in October. I mean, there's still time for y'all, if you've not registered, to join us at that event. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and start our journey. The Tale of Three Fleet Commanders. Our story really today involves John Paul Jones. He's a user of Fleet Commander, Jay Cousteau, and then also Jack Sparrow. Now, each of these users of Fleet Commander have different levels of access in Fleet Commander based upon their permissions. Everybody here, if you are longtime users of Fleet Commander, are familiar with the idea of permissions. Permissions within Fleet Commander state how far somebody can go into Fleet Commander itself and what they can do once they get there. John Paul Jones himself, his permission level, he actually only has access to one of three sites within this Fleet Commander instance, and he only has the ability to be the requester for vehicles and reservations that come out of the Frankfurt pool. He does in his profile, he has usage types of daily rental and long-term on that. And with this setup, he's going to experience Fleet Commander a little bit different than the fellow commanders here. Jay Cousteau himself, he's actually has the ability to drive and request vehicles there at Frankfurt. However, his usage type is limited to only daily rentals. On that, he doesn't have any other special usage types like long-term or maintenance or anything like that. Whereas Jack, well, he is actually an enterprise admin like myself, like probably most of you on the call. And the thing is that his profile hadn't truly been completely set up. His usage types were actually not clicked. And so what he sees and what he does within Fleet Commander, again, is going to be different than his fellow commanders here. So whenever John Paul and Jay and Jack go to Fleet Commander, they're going to want to go ahead and they're going to make their way to take the treasure over to their ships. And as part of that, they're making the plans to get there through Fleet Commander. The first thing they're going to end up encountering and they're going to see different in 513 is that interface of making reservations. There's a new feature, as we mentioned, of what's called vehicle availability. Brand new, never been a part, nothing that they would have ever seen during their travels through Fleet Commander before. And then also there's the user search box. Now this is one thing that not all three of them are going to see. The user search box, this is really geared towards an admin. So someone like Jack, he's going to be the one that's going to actually see this as he uses Fleet Commander. So what are some of the things that as they approach each of these landmarks, each of these items within Fleet Commander? Some of the things they're going to see. Well, that first in regards to making reservations. It's not going to look any different in regards to them making their reservations. And I apologize, I see a typo here right off the bat. It should not say my schedule there, but it should be pointed towards the part right up to the front top there with make reservations. I just simply did a typo and didn't catch it earlier, and I apologize for that. But this portion here with the make reservations, it still looks the same from the launching point. However, when either of these three gentlemen click on the make reservations, they may or may not notice that there is now a change, and you may or may not notice it the first time either. And that the first thing that they will see is now the usage type and site selection interface. It used to be that the first thing you would get whenever you make a reservation, either from this side with the end user interface or on the admin side, would end up being this reservation is for, and then the site. Now, this design is been changed, and the purpose of that is to help simplify the process in regards to when you select who you're making a reservation for, that the interface is a little bit more easier to use, as we're going to see as when this changes, but it will ends up drawing down the amount of people that are presented within that search field at that point. And so to make that happen, our designers had to shift this page to the front to start saying, we're going to be looking for users, but we want to make sure that we find a user that has the right permission type, and also it has the right permissions to a particular site. So that's why this shift, and we'll see this as we end up later in the presentation, go live to a FleetCommander training site, and we'll see that in action. One of the things that they're going to see that's different in their voyage through FleetCommander when making reservations is that no longer is there actually a cancel request button. Small change, but that cancel the request is not going to be found at these initial stages of making the reservation. It was just determined that it was something that was not necessary. So the designers of FleetCommander went ahead and took that out. Something you may or may not notice is one of those small details that has been removed. But one of the bigger changes, though, is in regards to how you search for a new user. As you search for your user, for someone else than yourself that you're making a reservation for. It used to be that you were presented with a driver text box, and if you knew the user ID or the username, you could type it straight in and hit next. If you didn't know it, you could end up hitting search for driver, and you'd come up with this box that would end up having you to be able to type in the last name and hit go, and then you had to go through a list to find the names that match that last name. That has been changed. That has been updated. It's been modernized for the journey on there. They actually are combo boxes that now allow you that at that point, all you have to do is just simply start typing. And what's really great about this, you don't have to hit search or anything like that. You just start typing, type in the first name, type in the last name, type in the username. All those will end up pulling into and working its way into the field there. And it can just be partials too. You don't have to type in a full first name or full last name or the full username. You can just use partials of that. And as it does that, it'll narrow it down. It'll end up allowing you to click on the drop-down menu and start to search from the smaller list there. So very helpful, very streamlined in regards to that process, and a change that we're excited to make, and probably one of the first things that you and your end users will recognize and see as a major change. Now, some other changes that are happening that are making big splashes or minor splashes, depending upon, again, how much you notice details. Within specifically in regards to the changes to the reservation detail form, that's once you get past the usage type, the site selection, determining if it's for you or for somebody else on the reservation. We have things that have changed. Just some small things in regards to changing the name of requester and driver rather than, I believe it was simply name in the past there. There is relabeling in regards to username. Instead, it used to say user ID. That's been changed. This the box here, it has been converted to that combo box, that drop-down menu on there, and so that's been updated. Also, in regards to the asset name, or type has been changed to be called asset type to give more clarification, because we use the word type frequently in Fleet Commander. We have usage type, and then that type just standing by itself was a little bit confusing. It's now identified as what it is, the asset type. Is it a sedan? Is it an SUV? Is it a pickup truck? Things like that. And then also leveraging the ability to have that combo box. That's now what we use in regards to for your departments. So it's going to be a lot easier for your users if they need to designate or change the departments that feed in onto the reservation form. They'll have the ability to do that, to type that, rather than having to do a drop-down menu and scroll all the way down on that. Another, again, very big improvement for Fleet Commander. And then a small change again, the cancel request button has been removed from this page too. And what has happened is it's not that it's completely taken out, but it's been renamed in this case to be called cancel or start over as part of that process. Another item that we find is that for non-admins, the submit and make similar request action button is no longer shown on this page. It's something that's been moved in essence to the next page instead of the confirm request page. It is something that will occur in the next step. Again, a minor change, unless you really are dialed into details and the way things happen. Most people are just not going to notice that it has been shifted in its location. So here we see that once you hit that stage, once a person submits their request, it will come to this page and it'll give them two options. You have the ability to go to manage reservations, which takes the user to my schedule. That button that I had mislabeled earlier was that called it my schedule instead of make reservations. That's the area here on the left that is going to take you to when you click on that. Or at this point, you have the ability to start another reservation, and that will repopulate the request form using information that was used and entered on the prior reservation. That's what these fleet commanders are going to see in regards to when they're making reservations. Another thing they're going to end up seeing as they go to the welcome page is this thing called the vehicle availability. This is brand new concept, new thing that we're adding into Fleet Commander that's really going to be a game changer, we believe, in regards to helping people see what vehicles are available and streamline the process for them when they're requesting vehicles. This is something that was actually a suggestion of our clients. It was something that was part of one of our user conferences where we were asked for suggestions in regards to improvements to Fleet Commander. And this was one that we received, one that we ended up developing to allow users to see what type of vehicles are available. That way they can avoid, a pending reservation because there was no vehicle of the selected type that they requested. This will allow them to kind of scroll through and take a look at those various vehicles that are available. Again, it's something that is going to be able to be accessed by your end users from the welcome page, and the placement of it will fall there near the top of the left-hand side. Not necessarily will always be there, but it will be there. And I bet, Mike, based upon your comment there, that you were one of the ones that suggested the vehicle availability. It's actually it's similar in design to what was there already within Fleet Commander. It was the see and select availability that happened during the reservation process. We use that concept, though, we're replacing it outside of the reservation now, kind of modernize the way it looks on that. But this was what was in essence, what was available prior to 513. But now we see that there's actually more of again, it's this ability to see the vehicles is before you even start making the reservations. So how does that work? First of all, it will be there with clicking on the vehicle availability, and you end up getting a screen that allows you to enter in your start date, allows you to enter in the site that you're going to get that vehicle at, the usage type that you're going to be making the reservation for, and then the asset type will be listed there. You have the ability to multi-select the asset types on that. It's not just one and go back and forth. You can actually pick from multiple ones to see what vehicles are available. Once you do that, you're then presented with this screen that will end up showing you which vehicles are available in those time spots. There is a day view for this, and there's also an hour view. The day view gives you multiple days in a row, whereas the hour view is just several hours, but doesn't extend far into the future. It's it's concentrated, I believe, within about 24 hours on that. So as you can see, spaces that where a vehicle would be available are the white area, whereas if a vehicle is reserved for that time block, it is marked with the zero dot with an X in it. There is the ability, and I really like this, that once you get started, you start looking and at this chart, and you decide, you know what, I want to make some changes in my criteria. Well, the change filters here on the right hand side actually allow you to do that. When you click on there, there's additional filters, and you can make those changes without having to start the process over again. I really like this design, and for those of you that want to give this ability to your, have been wanting to give this ability to your end users, it's now here as part of our product. And another kind of interesting feature about this too is you can actually start a reservation from this field, much like y'all that make use of the quick pick within managed fleets, where you can click on the space there and it pops up and starts a reservation. The similar is here, but for your end users on that, and it'll take them into the reservation form. One thing I do want to give you heads up about, in case I don't remember to mention it during the live presentation, is that I did notice that it does not feed in the dates or the times of the that you block of where you click. It will allow you to allows what you'll do is it'll bring you into the form, and they'll need to make sure to put in the times and dates on that. And what's really nice too is if you update after you make those reservations, if you can update the screen, it'll show you the changes. But even I believe that during the process, if you refresh your screen, if there's any reservations that came in on these vehicles while your end user's browsing, they have the ability to go ahead and look at and see where that's been captured. The other portion that yes.
Sorry, Mike Heath put a comment in there. I'm not sure if you can speak to this. He said, it appears someone can select a type of vehicle, then look at the sites they are. I'm guessing he's trying to say the sites that they have availability to with various sites.
We'll take a look at that. Remind me when we get into the live site, and we'll see in regards to the functionality of that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mike. And the next portion within FleetCommander, a new item. It's an improvement of how you as admin can find your users and change people on reservations during the reservation process on that. I just kind of threw this in here in case anybody wants to guess. And yes, I am recycling slides from previous workshop Wednesdays. I'm making use of the material that I have. But in FleetCommander with the new .NET user search box, an admin can search for a user in how many different places. Now, this is kind of a trick question. There's a lot of places that they can search for a user, but this is specifically using what we define as the user search box. If anybody would take a guess on that, if you guessed 3, then you're right on that. Those 3 places, again, during the reservation process that this new search box appears, is in the dispatch window where you click on change, and it'll appear there. Also, in regards to modifying a reservation, so you go to manage reservations and you end up hitting edit. At that point, there is the ability to change the user ID there using this new box. And then also with that quick pick, if you're going and making reservations through Manage Fleet, as we mentioned just a few minutes ago, then in that section too makes use of uh, this new box. So how does it work? Well, the interface, as you can see it, this is what it looks like when you click on that new change user or search for user. It's presented a little bit different in the way how it looks visually and the functionality of it too. You have the ability to page forward. You have the ability to end up clicking the amount of results that you want in there. You have the ability to sort actually the by the columns. That's a really nice feature. You can do those by clicking on the arrows. You can sort by the last name. You can sort by username. All that functionality is there, and there's even also filters where you can end up looking for, if you have a large amount of data, that you can look for specific names by making use of those funnels. So that's a function that a lot of people have been asking for in regards to being able to make it easier to find users within those portions of the reservation process that you as admin would encounter when you're dealing with those reservations. And then the buttons that you find there, the icons there, you've got the magnifying glass, and you've got the green check mark on those. With those, if you were to click on the view icon, you would end up seeing the information about that individual. But if you are go ahead and click on the green button, it actually then pulls that information over and into the portion of the reservation that you're working on, be it the dispatcher, be it within the manage reservations edit screen, or even within making the reservations there via the quick pick in manage fleet. So that is what has occurred. And like I said, I want to go ahead and do another one of my favorite times is John demonstrating live the things that we're about to do, or as I oftentimes say, John working without a net, and those things, anything can happen. So we'll just see how it goes. And with that, I'm going to pull over our training site. And I'm going to point out a couple things. Remember, our story was involving our friends, those fleet commanders, and what they see whenever they log in to the site. And because of their various permission levels, what they can do, what they can see, changes from person to person. So we've got John Paul Jones here. John Paul Jones, he was the one that has the ability to make reservations, but he cannot make them for himself. So when John Paul ends up going to make reservation, he comes here, and we'll see in 3, 2, 1. This should load over.
4, 5, 6.
7, 8, 9. Again, that's why I say John without a net. I will say I was sitting on this page for a while, so it probably just doesn't like me at the moment. So I'm going to log out and I'll do magic tricks. Kristen, why does this do this to me all the time?
You put it out there into the universe when you
That's
launch this, that this is you without a safety net, and so the system has to prove you right every
yeah,
time.
that's what it is.
I
Sure.
am gonna question your hiring thoughts here, though. I don't know that
Uh-huh.
I would give Mr. Jack Sparrow, administrator, access to this system.
Oh, well, I would say that's You're probably right on that. Okay, so we're going to try this again. I did what I did is I logged out and logged back in. And at this point, when we click on make reservations, which was working earlier because I did test this, you'll notice that again, first page that we're coming across is no longer this request is for me, this request is for somebody else. Um, on that, it's now usage type and site. We see, as we mentioned, John Paul only has daily rental and long-term access in his profile, and he only has the ability to make reservations for the Frankfurt pool. So this is one thing that you're going to want to kind of consider in regards to your requesters, that you may need to expand their ability of what usage types are in their profiles if they are making reservations for people that have a wider range of usage types than that individual has on that. And the same thing in regards to if they are making reservations for sites that there are not currently set up for. I would recommend that you end up running the user detail extra report. And what you'll end up doing is you can run that in Excel and kind of take a look at at the data integrity to see if there's any changes that would need to be made. But at this point, he has the ability to make a reservation and for Frankfurt on there. So we'll do daily rental and we'll hit next. At that point, it will then take him to the next page where he then specifies that it's for himself or for somebody else. Remember, he is only a requester. If he hits next, he says he does not have that permission to do that for that site. And so that's not his role. That's not his responsibility to drive, but he is to make reservations for somebody else. At this point, then, he's going to go ahead and make a reservation for his friend. In this case, it's going to end up being Mr. Cousteau. And as you type in those names just like that, you can already see that how it pops up that quickly. Even if I've started to do username, it ends up coming up with that, or with even a partial of his middle of his name. I believe it will actually even let me do that too. And we are, yep, you can see how it even pulls it in from just the section. So that's really awesome. We hit next and it ends up going to the next portion of the reservation in 3, 2, and 1. And at that point, you can see that things that we had talked about in regards to the changes that are made there. Now, if we were to have made this reservation in a different profile, let's say that, or actually let's do with the start over and make a reservation for Jacques Cousteau using the long term. At this point, we do Frankfurt, hit next. And when we get to this point, and this request is for somebody else, when we start to type in his name and look him up, he does not appear. That again is because Jacques Cousteau does not have the permission of the usage type long term on there. And so again, the focus of this is to try to narrow down this list so it's not so lengthy, not so hard to use on that. Now, that all being said, this is your end user. This is what's occurring with your end users. For yourselves as admin, this function here, again, works and broadens the functionality for you to accommodate you as an admin, because there are such situations where you may need to make a request for somebody who does not have a certain permission type. That's fine. That's good. All you got to do in that situation, I'm going to log out here and I'm going to off camera, type in my password. And Kristen, thank you for keeping track of this login. This is Jack Sparrow. Yes, despite Kristen's advice, I should not be giving him admin privileges. He does have admin privileges. So he comes in, and you see he has access to all these usage types. Now remember, in his profile, I mentioned he has no usage types actually clicked in his profile. So with him as an admin and yourselves as an admin, that's not a problem because Fleet Commander is going to allow for you to still manage these reservations, and not be dependent upon what is locked in your profile on that. The other really interesting thing about that too is not only does it allow for you to see all available profiles, but you see, of course, as enterprise admin, you would end up seeing all sites. And when we go to the Frankfurt pool, hit next, and this time when we search for Jacques Cousteau, in his situation, he's now there. Unlike when Jean-Paul Jones was making that reservation. Remember, it was locked in, would not allow him to make any type of reservations that did not fit to the with the uh, uh, with the process. So with him, he could put in that, and he will, and you as admin will end up seeing this message: you do not have access. This user does not have access. Do you want to continue? Whereas anybody that was non-admin would be locked out. We say, yep, okay, and you go from there. Other items in regards to this interface, just like before, where you might have times, hours of operations, length of reservations, how long they can last based upon usage type, you still have that flexibility as enterprise admin to override that process here in the moment. So that is the new manage, make reservation interface, and also then the user search as it applies to this right here. Next portion we're going to take a look at is we're going to go ahead and look at the vehicle availability. So here's that screen.
And don't forget Mike's question on this one.
Thank you. And remind that of me in just a moment when we get to well, remind me what the question was, so when I hit it, I can answer it. The question was?
It was, it appears someone can select a type of vehicle, then look at the sites they have availability to, I think, with various sites.
Well, let's go ahead and log out. Instead of Jack Sparrow, let's go back to John Paul Jones, because he is a requester. Actually, let's do Jacques Cousteau. No, I like John Paul Jones. I mean, all right. So when he goes to vehicle availability, we get here the asset sites. He is only able to look at the site that he has available in his profile. We're going to keep today's date. We're going to do a daily rental, and let's do mid-size. No, let's do mid-size sedan is what I was looking for. So that would be this one here. I hit
on this screen, he has not only had limited availability to the asset location, it was also the usage type based off of his profile, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
He has two in his. However, it's not listing anything like maintenance or any other ones that are in here. So it is determined by what is in their profile on that. Okay. So let's do that again. Daily, it's a midsize sedan. Hit continue, and we can see that there are two vehicles that match this setting for him, and it tells you the vehicle name here. It says that the year, the make, the model, and the type is all through in this section, as you can see here. And then as of today, there is this time frame. There is no reservations on there. This is also something, if you'll, that is forward looking on that. It's not backward looking, except in the I just launched a reservation. If you saw that, I just have been clicking on that. It's on the day view, it's forward looking. It does not go, I believe it does not go backwards. And the hour is from the morning all the way forward on that. And then filters, you can see where here we can go in. Again, limited, the site, Mike, is limited to just where they have permissions to request on that. But we can add in other vehicles here. So if we want to do a compact sedan at that point, or if you want to put in makes and models, we can do that on there. And those, we hit apply filters, and then it expands it out some more. And again, if we want to do a reservation, say we wanted to place a reservation for this one on Friday, it pulls in here, and again, you'll have to update the dates on those.
John, we have another question. In
Yes.
vehicle availability, are drivers able to see the destination of the person who has the vehicle reserved? So if there's a reservation already on that grid, can they see where they're going?
No, that is not part of it. It is unlike the managed fleet in that sense, that information is not known, and it's not even the name of the person is not even there. And that would be the see and select option during that we mentioned as part of the current reservation process. That was a setting where we would turn off that information. I believe that's turned off completely on here too. So that is the vehicle availability. So the only other portion to really talk about real quick is, look at that. Doesn't like me. Remember, I'm not, John Paul Jones is not Jack Sparrow. He does not have admin privileges. So let's just go back in and go to our admin side. And I'm going to pull up we're talking about manage and then fleet and launching a quick pick reservation. If we get to this point, we put in the daily rental. And if we're going to search for the driver in this case, this is that combo box that we had previously. So we've got, with this, we have the ability to search. So we can do filter, and it should have safety net. Let me clear that. That was not doing what I was wanting, but let's pull this over further and look at it. There we go. You have to scroll over and on that. But ultimately, let's just go ahead and we're going to pick him, and it pulled it over into the reservation. So that is, again, the various functions on that. The deck that you're going to be receiving that I put together has all the ins and outs of how this operates. So you can see how it looks. It also includes the idea of ignoring buffers in the vehicle assignments. But those are the main features of what we have with FleetCommander and the new changes. And I had put aside the next 15 minutes for Kristen and CS and with me leading into it talking about command. But before I do, Is there any other questions in the chat that I need to address?
There was one more question about that
Okay.
feature. How does this
hmm
feature differ from going in to make a reservation and be able to see what is available in there?
Are we talking that as in a admin or um, as an admin or as a end user?
Driver,
As a driver.
requester.
The difference is that the vehicle availability is outside of the reservation process before you even start it, whereas the other previously was a matter of it had to be tied into allowing them to pick their vehicles, and you're already way into the process. So this kind of pulls it out ahead of time so they can kind of plan strategically on what vehicles they're going to ask for.
And then there was another question. Is there a way to restrict users from accessing vehicle availability?
It is that is something that our support team can help you with on that. I believe that it is an all or nothing, though. It's not specific to individuals, from my understanding. But that's an excellent question on that.
But that would be for the driver or requester screen only if it's an all or nothing, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. You all
So
as
it wouldn't
admin,
affect the administrator
no.
access. Okay.
You, in essence, what the vehicle availability is is what you as admin see when you do managed fleet. It is so this function is really designed specifically for your end users that don't have the ability to go behind the curtain and look at those things.
Perfect. Additional questions, guys? Is it possible to limit the vehicle description so requesters do not pick the newest vehicle?
I wished I
Sorry, I
could tell you.
chuckle as a previous fleet manager. I might understand where that question's coming from just a little bit.
I, I will have to say we'll get back to you on that one. I don't remember the answer to that one. I apologize.
Harry will make sure that we follow back up with you directly on that one.
Okay, well then let's talk about some fun things. If that wasn't fun enough for you
I was gonna say
already.
this was fun, John. What are you talking
Thank you.
about?
Well, we're gonna dial this up to 11 then on
I
that.
am
All
a little
right.
excited about this next topic though.
So, Command. This is our annual user conference. We used to call it the Fleet Commander User Conference, and it's Agile came up with this idea in 2017. There was a beta test group of clients that were in Chicago that were participating in the Big Ten and Friends uh, uh, parking convention and transportation convention that was going on there. And like I said, a group of power clients, I guess, users of Fleet Commander, were asked by Agile to join them after the main conference there in Chicago to kind of do a run through of what it would be like for us to gather with clients and Agile. And at that time, I was with one of those universities, and I was the fleet coordinator for the university and was asked to be part of it. And it was really exciting. There in Chicago, we were there. It was right down on there in downtown. It was amazing. Agile Fleet gave away a green lamp. No, no, we actually didn't give away a green Lamborghini yet, but the Lamborghini store was right down the road. And that was the only picture that I could find. These were pictures that I took, and I couldn't find any official company pictures. So that was the event there in 2017. It was a small group. I think there was no more than 7 of us that were there at the time, and it was really neat to see the development of what uh, the genesis of what would become Command, our annual conference. And then in 2018, the conference was once again tied as kind of an addendum and separate from that transportation conference with the Big Ten, but was there on the campus of Purdue. And really, one of the things that's really special about the user conference and command is the ability for not only for y'all to meet us, but for y'all to meet one another, your fellow users of FleetCommander. It's a lot of networking that goes on during the conference. A lot of be able to share ideas, meet new people, and just learn about FleetCommander, learn about what others are doing with their fleets, and get together and have a good time. Purdue actually had there in their student union a bowling alley, and we were able to go there. Then in 2019, the next conference happened at Iowa State University in Ames. We were able to go and tour their facilities. That's one of the things that we do during user conference, is to not just only have the sessions, but the hosting organization will oftentimes open up their facilities, allow us to go and to see what they do, how they use FleetCommander, how they just run their fleets. And again, it's exciting to end up seeing the operations and seeing what people do with their key control, what they do with their shop, and how they might leverage prep and inspections and as part of the operation on that. Then 2020 hit. It was the big shutdown. For 2 years, we did not have a user conference because of COVID and its lasting effects, and fortunately, even though COVID is going around again, the severity of it, is not as stark as it has been. Although we're definitely mindful of those things as we prepare for conferences. But we ended up picking up again in 2022. This time at the University of Maryland in College Park. It was a beautiful setting there. It was the first time that I had been to Maryland, and I particularly thought it was interesting as we drove by the statue of Jim Henson and Kermit the Frog, because he attended there, and I'm actually a big Jim Henson fan on that. And also, that was the introduction, for those of you that might have been there, of John and him playing his video of playing to the cows. I live on a farm right out there is where those cows are at. And for some reason, our president of the company said, "John, play for everybody your cow video." And so you got to see that. If you end up attending this next year, you ask me if you want to see that video, I'd be happy to do that. I actually was able to call those cows all the way from the very end part of the pasture that you see here up to the front. And it's fun things like that we get to participate in and during these conferences. 2023 was Knoxville, University of Tennessee. Another great thing about user conferences, the swag and the food. We definitely treat you well when you come to the user conference. And so you've got networking, you've got food, and you've got gifts. So, and funny videos. So, things like that you get in addition to the material that we cover. Also, for those of you that were there, I'm just going to out myself again. That was the year of Blue Pac-Men Are Good. I'm not going to explain this to you, but yes, that is me in yellow pants. And if you come up to this year's conference and you were not in Knoxville, Tennessee, I will explain to you what that was all about. It does deal in regards to our maintenance module and kind of a theme of the Blue Pac-Man. That was part of that. Last year, Winston-Salem, Wake Forest University. It was awesome. This was the first time that we rebranded, and we went from being the Fleet Commander User Conference to Command. And they're on their site, beautiful. My first time to Winston-Salem, and they were such great hosts for the event, and the fact that they ended up allowing all of us to go down onto their football field and have that great sign up there for all of us. It was amazing. Everybody loved it as we were touring campus, as we were looking at the operations there. So that brings us to 2025, Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, Kristen, you want to talk about this in regards to what our plans are?
Yes, absolutely. So this is going to be my first command. I'm super excited to attend and get to meet our clients here. We're going to be at Minneapolis, Minnesota, at the University of Minnesota, October 7th through 9th. We're going to be hosted at the McNamara Alumni Center. We've got hotel accommodations adjacent to there at the Graduate, which is part of the Hilton brand. And then during this event, we're going to be doing a tour of the UMN fleet operations and visit while we're there. Some things that you can expect while we're at Command 2025. We're going to talk about FleetCommander product updates, including status of drag and drop and our new mobile-friendly driver UI, which is pictured on the right-hand side there. We're going to be focusing on a celebration of our 25th year at the market and Malcolm Yards. There's going to be a lot of peer-to-peer learning opportunities and panel discussions. Jen and I are working on those now. And we're going to have other sessions, including technician retention and recruitment strategies, right sizing, proof and progress, and a whole lot more. So like I said, I'm excited about this one, meeting you guys and getting to see the content that we're going to be providing. This is a link. We'll leave it up quickly for a few minutes, just a second. But the link on the QR code on the left is for our registration site. If you haven't registered, we would love to have you hover over that and it'll give you the registration site. The one on the right is our hotel reservation site. You can also access that from the registration page. When you're on the registration page, it looks where this picture is right above there, there's a red here. That is the link to the hotel reservation page. So just FYI, if you're looking for that link, it's the red here word right above that picture when you get there. But these are our QR codes for registration and hotel reservations. If you use the hotel path here, it'll put you in our block with the rest of the Agile Fleet folks. So that's Command. If you've got any questions, you can also reach out to me directly and I can help you out with any of that information. Let's see. Do you think you'll ever have a conference on the West Coast at some point? Good question. I think we're trying to figure out what our next destination is. So if you guys have any recommendations or requests, feel free to shoot those over my direction too. And we'll take those into consideration as we're trying to map out 26. Okay, so tools for success. I've got just a couple minutes to fly through these really quick. We like to add this picture here. It's a little bit old, but this is a picture of our team. We want to thank y'all for your partnership. You help make Agile what it is, and that's just a picture of all the folks that you have supporting you. You get to see folks like me and John on a more regular basis, but we got a huge team behind the scenes. For immediate support and assistance, the best way for any immediate technical assistance is to reach out to our FC support team, our Agile support team. Both the email and the phone number on here. Their email address is fcsupport@agilefleet.com. From a client success standpoint, client success, we are your champions and we are here to be your advocates. So if you guys ever have any questions, requests, or needs for additional services, Jen is our new VP of Client Success, and I am your Senior Manager of Client Success. So please feel free to reach out to either of us for any assistance that you may need. Again, if it's immediate, please reach out to support. Jen and I bounce around between client calls and visits, and so we're not on top of our email all the time. So if it's immediate need, support. Otherwise, us. We have other resources available for you at agilefleet.com or our online resources, which include webinars, case studies, white pages, all kinds of supporting document. FC Drive, this is a clickable link when you get this slide deck. This is our knowledge base website where you can get instructions, how-to articles, and training videos for our more frequently used aspects of Fleet Commander. We do also have links to manuals on there. If you get in there and you get password blocked, shoot me an email and we can get you that information. We also have our YouTube channel, which includes all of our previous Workshop Wednesdays. We are social. Here are our 4 social platforms. Connect with us. I'll leave this up for just a second. We're right at 2 o'clock, so if anybody needs to drop off, I completely understand. All right, click to the next one. And Workshop Wednesdays, that's what this is. We want your feedback, so please scan the QR code and provide whatever feedback you may have about these. If you've got suggestions, recommendations, or requests for what next topics should be, you can send those over through that or drop them in the chat as well. And that is what we have for you today. So right at 2 o'clock, woohoo, we did it, John. Again, we could stay on for a couple of minutes for any additional questions y'all might have. Otherwise, thank you so much for attending. This will be going out to everybody who registered and will be available on our YouTube channel once the recordings are done and saved and all the fancy IT jazz. Thank you again.